Game day.
Welcome in to another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. We've got a show. We've got actual football going on right now as we speak. But more importantly for Chiefs Kingdom, we've got training camp and things going on there. So we're going to talk about Nick Bolton and Tony being out, what a Rice suspension or non-suspension could mean for Xavier Worthy, Kingsley running with the ones, and just a quick look at some of the rule changes and how that'll impact the season moving forward. My name is Quentin Morris. We got Thiz running the show in the background. And now a guy who is looking forward to grading papers during primetime football. It's the Professor Caleb. How we doing today, bud?
Doing pretty good, man. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. We've got real football going on. Both a Hall of Fame preseason game, but also pads have been put on for training camp. We've got actually guys out there on the field, and unfortunately what that means is that we're having a little bit of an injury bug coming in. Yesterday there were 5 players that left early with injuries. 3 of them have returned. The 2 that did not were Nick Bolton, who during yesterday's presser, Andy Reid said that he was tackling somebody and he got his arm squished between a couple of guys, and Kadarius Toney, who exists and got hurt. So both of those guys did not make practice today. I personally don't really care about the Kadarius Toney not being out there, because this is exactly what I've expected from him now. The one that worries me more is the Nick Bolton one. But go ahead and give your takes and I'll finish up mine.
I mean, so my takes generally just on training camp so far, basically the injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what happens typically when it comes to training camp. The guys have not put on pads since February when they had the Super Bowl, and it's been about, give or take, less than 6 months, almost 6 months. So they're hitting around, moving around. Their body's not used to it. It's going to take some time. There's going to be a lot of soft tissue injuries that happen during training camp. It's a big thing that happens. That's why it's important that you train and keep your body good to go during the summer and off season, so you're prepared for these training camps, because it's hot outside now. It's over probably 100 degrees in St. Joe with the heat index and all the stuff. So, yeah, these things happen, and I'm concerned. No, not really. Again, they're getting into football shape. When you go from one sport to another, you have to get in that type of shape for that sport, and they're going to have to get used to being hit and stuff. That's why they just don't jump right into the pads. They go to shorts and T-shirts. Quentin's favorite saying. Okay. Everyone looks great in shorts and T-shirts, but whenever we switch over to the pads, we're going to see some nicks and some bruises. But then after that, you're good to go.
Yeah, I agree with you with a lot of that. The Kadarius Toney one I don't care about. I don't care that he rolled his ankle. I don't care about that, because he's probably your 5th or 6th wide receiver. He's probably, barely going to see the field this year. I'd be surprised if he gets more than 200 yards from scrimmage. The Nick Bolton one is definitely more concerning on face value, because he's the leader of your defense. He's the green dot, the guy that, tells defensive linemen to scoot over. He's the one that sort of implements those sort of things. But when Andy Reid explained it, that he was making a tackle and 2 guys just sort of squished his arm, made me concerned less, because I've done that before, right? And you don't go to practice next day because the shit still hurts, right? Yeah. And you're in training camp, and what it means is that you're not gonna push any of those stuff. If your arm is sore and you're a guy like Nick Bolton, you don't need the reps. Your job, you're not in any situation really where Nick Bolton is going to lose his job, right? Nick Bolton is your starting linebacker moving forward. And so Nick Bolton can take a day off, make sure that arm, whatever bruise is on there goes back down. Plus, it gives guys like Jack Cochran an opportunity to hit the field and see what he has for you, right? He was taking reps for the ones today because Nick Bolton was out. So I'm not really concerned about that. Honestly, I'm happy to see the guys that haven't been hurt, right? Like the fact that Xavier Worthy, knock on wood, or, throw salt all over your shoulder or whatever. The fact that Xavier Worthy's hamstring has held up to this point, right? He missed a couple of practices early in I almost said spring training, and training camp because of strep throat. But other than that, it's been pretty good for Worthy. And those are the kind of injuries that you want to avoid, right? Those soft tissue injuries, because they're bound to happen. Somebody's going to pull a hamstring, and then they're going to lose significant time because of it. Just like you said, because you're trying to get back into football shape. You're putting on pads, you're hitting, you're sprinting, right? There's the difference between sprinting to go catch balls and sprinting, on a track. There's a difference between those speeds when someone's trying to come and hit you. So yeah, those soft tissue injuries are going to happen. And it's just making sure that you can manage those. And we haven't
Hmm.
seen a lot of those kinds of injuries yet. And I think Kansas City has been pretty lucky with that,
Hmm.
so far into training camp.
Yep, and I agree with you. And basically, what it comes down to at the end of the day is that these things are going to happen. They're part of it. This is why you train, prepare for this. Because Andy Reid puts the Chiefs through the most difficult training camp in the entire league. So it's nothing lightly to look at.
Jason
So he's
Kelsey
preparing them.
still talks about Andy
Hmm.
Reid's training camp and
Exactly.
how he would go and do his runs and then he vomited afterwards because of how difficult his runs were. So yeah, this is he puts on a tough training camp. It's one of the reasons why Kansas City is able to get off to such a quick start, right? You've got teams like
Hmm.
the Bengals that get off to a slow start and you're throwing away two wins early in the year that cost you playoff positioning, right?
Hmm. Yep.
City, they come off ready to go because Andy Reid has got them physically in shape when they're up there in St. Joe. So yeah, it's important that you're able to hit the ground running moving forward because we've seen
Hmm.
that while Kansas City has won the division by multiple games over the last
Hmm.
years, the reason you were able to host 5 championship games in a row was because you got off to a hot start. And not just getting off to a good start, it's
Hmm.
also being physically able to maintain yourself throughout the season. Because if you have bad conditioning in the off season, sure, maybe you're able to get off to a good start personally for the first couple of games. But what do
Hmm.
we always talk about? It's a long season.
Yep.
The NFL is not a sprint, it's a marathon where you have to be able to condition yourself throughout the entire season. And if you aren't right yourself, maybe you feel good for the first 2 weeks, but November, December, January football, you're not physically able to perform at a peak level because you're
Hmm.
not conditioned for it. So
Exactly.
this is why Andy Reid's training camps and hearing about this stuff, it's important to keep a close eye on.
Exactly. You're not wrong. And because of that, what we're going to see is that this just helps the Chiefs look a lot better than many other teams when it comes to the regular season, playoffs, and Super Bowl. Back to back champs, 3 times in 5 years.
Yeah, let's transition a little bit. We sort of teased it a little bit when we were talking about the wide receivers. Matt Verderam spoke earlier today with the media, and this is just some of the other reporting out there. The fact that there has been no update on the Rashee Rice situation
Hmm.
means that moving forward, as of right now, it looks like that Xavier Worthy is going to be the fourth option in this offense, and I
Hmm.
think that's a good thing. I know some people will say, well, look at what Rice did when he had his opportunity. Why should we limit Xavier Worthy's opportunities? Because Rice is the exception, not the rule. And we continue to talk about how difficult this offense is for everybody,
Hmm.
including guys that have been in the system, trying to learn new stuff added onto it, but especially rookies, right? Because as a rookie, you're not just learning a Andy Reid offense, you're learning how to be an NFL player, right? And I
Hmm.
just think limiting his plate and saying, hey, we have a very, we're going to give you these few, route concepts that you need to learn, and you're going to get awesome at that. And so when your time comes to go get a deep ball or to get this
Hmm.
little pop pass, you're going to be successful with it. And because Rice hasn't been suspended, or there's no news or any rumors out there that Rice is going to get suspended this year,
Hmm.
because of that, you sort of get to put Xavier Worthy on the back burner, and you get to slow cook his introduction into the NFL instead of having to
Hmm.
rush him in there like you had to do with Rice.
Yeah, and I feel like ultimately they were going to do that regardless anyway. Now, if Rice wasn't there, then I can obviously Wardley's going to get his plays. I do think, however, they're going to ease him into it more and more and more and more, kind of like how Rice was. But the way it looks like now, and the way the stance the NFL has taken over the last couple of years, they're going to wait till all the information comes out. They're not going to let Twitter or Instagram judges and courts rule that Rice is guilty or whatever. They're going to let it go through the court system. And I don't think we're going to get anything until next season, honestly, until everything goes through the courts, honestly. That's just kind of how the way things are and how it looks. I mean, some people may not like that, but that's just how it's been. The status quo has been for the last couple of years. So because of that, this offense is probably going to be in a really good spot. Yeah, you could put Worthy on the back burner, but I also feel like too you need to throw Worthy in there and increase the snaps each week because if you go back and look at those highlights of Rashee Rice throughout each and every week, he got more dominant and dominant and dominant and dominant and dominant over time. So that just shows me I believe we can have something with Worthy, but maybe a little bit better because we have more weapons. And since we have more weapons, teams are gonna have a hard time trying to deal with us.
Yeah, I think that sort of in a similar manner, I think that the more weapons is going to help him because and him being worthy, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
last year there was no serious threat early in the year outside of Travis Kelsey. And
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, Travis Kelsey was constantly getting beat up at the line, and he was
Mm-hmm.
already injured to begin with, right? If you remember before the Lions game, the last
Yep.
practice before the Lions game,
He got
Travis
hurt.
Kelsey hurt himself
Mm-hmm.
and in the end zone with it, with that on top of it. And so
Mm-hmm.
you had an injured Travis Kelsey. He was the only one that could catch the damn ball. And so
Mm-hmm.
everybody was focusing their attention on Travis Kelsey
Yep.
because MVS was a joke, right? And Kadarius Toney was a joke, right? So the only other option you had was Rice, and so you just had to force feed him the ball, and it worked, right? But just because something worked doesn't mean it was the correct way to develop a guy.
It's a good point.
Just because it worked out doesn't mean that's how you should repeat the process again. If Kansas City were to do that moving forward, where it's just like, let's draft a rookie, we'll throw him out there and we'll see what happens. I would come on this show and I would tell you that that's bad process, right? And the
Mm.
one thing that I will consistently say that the Chiefs have done is they've had good process. Even though some of their trades haven't worked out, some of their draft picks haven't worked out. You don't
Mm-hmm.
look at the specific thing, you don't look at the results of it, you look at the process of it, right? Because if you have good process, more often than not, it will turn out to work out well for you. Just
Mm.
because you had like if let me give you an example. Let's say Clyde Edwards-Helaire turned out to be a great running back, right? Like a top 5 running back.
Mm-hmm.
I would still come out and tell you that it was bad process to draft Clyde in the first round because I don't think that you should be spending that high of a draft pick on on a running back, right? I just don't
Hmm.
think that that's bad process to me. So even if it works out for you, doesn't mean that it was the correct decision. I think having Worthy sort of be that extra option, that just another guy in the system is the correct way to run him into the Chiefs offense.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. And yeah, I mean, different things will work for different players, but there is a process how things should be done. And you can't just throw guys to fire. Some can do well in it, some just can't.
And once again, just because somebody, even at, let's say, Worthy would come out and succeed, I don't know if I still would want him to do that, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
do kind of want to ease him into the offense, especially if I don't have to throw him to the fire. If I have the opportunity to let the guy just sit there and cook and learn and I'm not saying that you don't use him week 1. I'm absolutely not saying that. I'm just saying that hey, when we use Worthy, we're going to use him in something that he's comfortable in and not feel like that we have to use him because he's the only guy in the room that can catch the damn ball.
Mm.
That's not the situation that Kansas City is in. Travis Kelsey, Hollywood Brown, and Rice are all in front of him on the receiver depth chart. And so he's going to be the 4th option. You could probably put Pacheco in front of Worthy as well, right? So you
Mm.
could come out and make the argument that he's the 5th receiver option in this offense. And I think that's great for him. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
great for the Chiefs offense.
Yep, that's a good point. And I'm just hoping they can figure something out because season's coming along. But I will say this offense is looking like they can push the ball downfield, which is going to be very,
Every
very nice.
every single day every single day Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball deep in training
Mm-hmm.
camp every day.
Yep.
And it seems like every day the video that comes out is him throwing it to Worthy, but every single day to start camp they're throwing the ball deep. They're
Mm-hmm.
pushing the ball down the field in camp and I think that's going to translate into the regular season. I don't know how much you
Mm-hmm.
see it in the preseason, but I think this team is going to throw the ball down the field a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
About midway through the season, one of the things I'm going to look at is I'm going to look at the average depth per throw, and I guarantee
Mm.
you that it's going to be a significant difference from what it was last year. Like we're going to see a yard or more average depth of target from last year to this year. I really
Mhm.
truly believe that because it seems like there is an emphasis for Kansas City to throw the ball down the field.
I'm hoping because I want to see more touchdowns. I want us to beat teams a lot easier and quicker.
And I just think that, the team's going to score more points, but I think it's just bringing back that stress that Kansas City used to have. Now, you know that I'm against the phrase like replacing X player, right? Like when
Hmm.
people make the argument that Jared Wiley is here to replace Travis Kelsey, like you don't replace a Travis Kelsey. I have the same take on Tyreek Hill, right? You don't replace a Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill's probably going into the Hall of Fame, right? He is a
Hmm.
special level receiver. He
Hmm.
has an elite speed and quickness and the ability to just find the ball down. You don't like replace Travis Kelsey. You don't replace a Tyreek Hill.
You just
What
have
you
guys on the
can do
standby.
what you can do is you can find players, multiple players, a couple of different players to try and replace the production of him. And one of the things that Tyreek Hill does so well is he scares defenders to where they have
Hmm.
to shade over to him. They have to, get up close because if you give him any sort of cushion off the line, he can blow by you, right? Which means it limits some of your coverages and some of the shift that you can have, your pre-motion, your pre-snap motions that you can do on defense, right? You can't roll back into certain coverages when you have a Tyreek Hill on the field. I
Hmm.
think that with an Xavier Worthy, you can come up with a similar thing, right? Where because of his speed and his ability, at least up
Hmm.
to this point, we've seen in training camp, he has a great ability to track the ball down the field, something he did do at Texas very well.
Hmm.
Where I think that we can go back to a little bit of that offense to where not only is Xavier Worthy fast, but he truly is a deep threat, right? When MVS came here to Kansas City, one of the things that they talked about was, oh, he's a deep threat down the field because he can catch the ball deep. Well, MVS struggled. He had sometimes had a case of the dropsies, and sometimes he just couldn't track the ball. I think Xavier Worthy is better than MVS in that, and I think
Hmm.
because of that skill set Kansas City has again, while we aren't going to see the Legion of Zoom we saw in 2019 and 2020, we will see an offense that has a legitimate threat of throwing the ball down the field.
Yep.
We're going to see a 60-yard touchdown this year.
I can't wait. That's the thing. That's why I believe you can't guard everyone on this offense. Someone is going to get theirs every single week. That's just how it's going to be.
Another rookie that we need to highlight is that Kingsley Suamataia, the left tackle, is running with the ones
Ooh.
consistently. He is starting at left tackle for the Chiefs through training camp. It seems like he's got the default. It's sort of his job to lose at this point, even though the Chiefs are not saying that by any means. They're continuing to call it an
Hmm.
open job and that it's a
Yeah,
competition. But, you know, actions speak louder than words.
that's a
And
good point.
because Kingsley continues to run with the ones, when the first preseason game comes around, I'm expecting Kingsley to be out there. And assuming something catastrophic doesn't happen, I think Suamataia is your starting left tackle for this Chiefs team.
Hmm. Oh, I think he has a good chance. And like, you're the starting left tackle to protect Mahomes' blind side. I mean, you have to get guys like him ready to go. And if he's running the ones now, he's been doing great. You just hope it keeps going well because you're going to need him to be familiarity with that secret service of the offensive line. You got to protect quarterback, who's your president, Mahomes. Secret Service got to do their thing, and they bring Kingsley to be one of the newest members. So it's going to be a great time. I can't wait to see what's going to happen with all of that.
Yeah, there was an article that came out, and I can't remember what publication it was. It might have been the Athletic, but I could be wrong. That talked about what each team's number one trade should be before the season starts,
Hmm.
and their Chiefs take was that they should trade for a left tackle.
Hmm.
Which I was just like, that's crazy to me because you've spent multiple top 100 picks on left tackles already. And if
Hmm.
the Chiefs go out and trade for a left tackle now, like that shows to me that they're in a lot of trouble with their
Hmm.
left tackle room. So I do think Kingsley, look, we were excited when the pick came in.
Hmm.
We see his size and his talent in college. I think Kingsley is probably the best option for the Chiefs moving forward. And,
Hmm.
you know, unfortunately, when Donovan Smith Donovan Smith played left tackle last year, your
It was a
rookie,
struggle.
yeah, your rookie, both Kingsley had his problem, or both Donovan Smith had his problems, and your rookie last year had their problems. Kingsley got the opportunity to get drafted, and so far it's his job to lose.
Hmm. Yeah, and I just honestly, the Chiefs have done pretty. I feel like good job drafting these offensive tackle products, these guys, and they've done very very well. And like Kingsley is going to be one of those next great guys that's going to be with us for a while. So I just can't wait to see what he can continue to do over time in camp and looking what he's going to do during preseason.
Yeah. Let's talk about a couple of things that are happening in the Hall of Fame game. The first thing is something that I know all of us have visually saw because it just looks so different. The kickoff look, the new kickoff rule. We've seen it. Now, what are your thoughts on the kickoff rule?
Man, I don't know why we changed it. Like, there's no reason to change the kickoff rule. I guess we're trying to limit injuries and stuff, but I feel like it's really not going to do anything to enhance the game. I feel like it may change some stuff to where you're going to want like a Justin Reed down there because you can track down a guy return the ball prefer than a Harrison Butker. But when I look at it, I don't see the reason to change it. Like, I don't understand the explanation. To me, it personally makes no sense. And it looks, I mean, interesting, but I just don't see how it's going to help make the game more interesting, if that makes sense. I guess I need to see more of it in real action to see what's going to happen. But ultimately, I feel like, why change it? Like,
Right.
why are we getting rid of the all sides, when you want to kick on all sides? Why are we changing all these different things? Like, it makes no sense to me personally. Like, the advantages in certain areas of special teams is slowly getting rid of over time.
I really liked the rule change when it happened. I was very forward with that. That I liked the rule change because you're limiting a lot of those high contact. I mean, you've got grown men sprinting at each other. You're going to get rid of
Mm-hmm.
that, right? So you're going to get rid of a lot of the concussions and just the high impact injuries that come from that. I think
Mm-hmm.
too, we're going to see more kickoff returns for touchdowns this year
Ooh,
because
okay.
when you break through that one line, that's it, right? There's not like a second or third line that can go and tackle you. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
see more and bigger kickoffs because the new rule encourages you to actually kick the ball to the guy. Because if you kick it out of the end zone, they get the ball at the 30-yard line, right? Like they don't get the ball at the 25 anymore. You're moving up,
Mm-hmm.
and every single extra yard you get on the kickoff statistically increases your chance of scoring a touchdown.
It's a good point.
So I like the rule. It's still a little weird to see, just because you're not used to it. I was surprised that there was no big return up to this point, at least in the Hall of Fame game, that they just returned it to the 26,
Mhm.
basically every
That's I'm
time.
like
So,
the same thing. Yeah.
but we'll see, right? Getting the ball to the 26 is better than just seeing the ball get kicked out of bounds, right? You're bringing
Hmm.
you're or getting kicked out of the back of the end zone. You're bringing back what was a dead part of the game. How many times did the Chiefs score a touchdown when Harrison Butker went up to go kick it, and you just left the room to grab yourself a drink or to go to the
Hmm.
bathroom or get yourself some food because you knew exactly what was going to happen? Well,
Hmm.
that's not going to be the case this year, right? The chances are is that the Chiefs are not going to just kick it out of the back of the end zone because every yard you gain on the kickoff statistically improves your chance of scoring.
That's a fair
I mean,
point.
just think about how if you get the ball at the 35-yard line, right? The Chiefs need to go what, 30 yards and you're in field goal range?
Exactly. Yeah, and it puts them in a very good situation compared to other teams too if they can just pick
So,
up that yards quickly.
right. So there's an opportunity for Kansas City to take advantage of this, and we'll see what happens. Right, I'm excited to see what Day Tope has to do with all this. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it is a good rule change. I understand the reasoning behind it. It is both a player safety thing. It is also just let's bring back a part of the game that has been dead for really since they changed the rules to where you couldn't get a
Hmm.
running start anymore.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It does look weird though.
Yeah. And that's gonna be interesting to see who the Chiefs will put back there. So I'm feeling like we'll see something most likely in the first preseason game. But I feel like I gotta put someone that's fast, speedy, and elusive that can just shake defenses, get to the second level. So.
Final thing here, and this is sort of a new report that it's been murmured about a little bit, but the NFL is looking to get rid of the chain gang. But we have sort of an update to this story. So the NFL talked to, I believe, the Associated Press, and
Hmm.
they talked about how the NFL will be implementing Sony's Hawkeye technology, which, for those of you that don't know, is the same technology they use in tennis. in order to determine whether or not the ball is out of bounds on
Mm.
tennis. I don't know if out of bounds is the correct tennis terms or not, but you know what I mean. Uh, it's the same. It's the same technology used for that. And what they're going to do is it's going to inform the umpires or the refs whether or not the ball passed the first down marker. So we're trying to get rid of the chain gang. We're trying to make sure that as soon as it's first down, all of the refs know, so we don't have to measure it. There's not going to be any conferences anymore about whether or not, hey, was that a first down?
Mhm.
Did it pass the ball? I didn't see it. Did you see it? Right. The refs will just know, right? And I think this is a good improvement. The chains will still be there, as a backup just in case, but no note card controversy with this technology.
Yes, we want the no card. And I think this could be something great. The only issue is whenever the technology messes up one time, we're going to see Twitter turn into a firestorm. Everyone's going to be mad. This will be talking about on all the ESPN, all the Fox Sports, all national shows. So
Right.
I think this is a great thing, though, to try to see what can be done in order to fix the issues with the first down calls. So I can't wait to see what's going to happen. I think it's going to benefit some teams. It's also going to probably be very helpful in these situations. All I have to do is just get the ball there. So
Yeah, I think it can take, some people are worried that you're going to remove the drama from the game because you're not going to have like the chains coming out and be like, oh, is it a first down? I believe that Fox and CBS,
mm-hmm,
ABC, ESPN, Prime, all of
mm-hmm.
them, I believe that they on the television will be able to come up with some sort of way to continue to let the drama go, right? Like
Oh,
I'm sure they can bring out like digital chains onto the field, like with
mm-hmm.
the graphic, like
Tony
they can do
Romo's already got it
something.
figured out.
Yeah, they can do
Mm-hmm,
something to ensure that the drama is still there,
mm-hmm,
right? I'm not worried about that. I think that this is going to be a good change for the NFL. Now, the NFL said that they are looking to implement this technology in the 2025 season. They are just
mm-hmm.
testing it now, but they did say that it could come sooner than the 2025 season. So
I want to be
maybe,
surprised.
maybe this is something that they implement like midway through the season.
I want to be
I don't
surprised.
I'll give the NFL credit with this. Unlike other sports, the NFL is very quick to adjust for a lot of
Mm-hmm,
things. The
mm-hmm,
NFL is willing to change its rules year in and year out, and there's a lot of leagues that are unwilling to do that. The NFL is not one of them. The NFL is willing to implement a lot of things year in and year out, and I think they deserve credit for that. Whereas, like
mm-hmm.
baseball, it takes them decades to change things.
Yes.
Up until recently, baseball has been so like, this is what we are. We're baseball. We're not changing anything. I mean, only the last couple of years have we seen significant changes to baseball in order to adjust to the times. Whereas
Mm-hmm,
football, for better or for worse, and it is sometimes for worse, football is willing to change rules and to
mm-hmm,
adjust things year in and year out. So I think this is a good change. I assume that technology is going to work because, like I said, it's the same technology that they use in tennis. So this is a technology that's been
it's
tested
been
out before,
used.
and we'll
Just
see what happens.
and they just have to alter it for the football side,
Yeah,
and it's just ultimately just gonna make things better for the game itself. So I think it's a great time to implement it. And hey, if they could do that, my only thing is this: put it in a game that's not gonna have high stakes. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah, that's why they're using it in preseason, right?
Yeah.
Like they're implementing it in preseason. It takes they have to add cameras to all the stadiums in order
Mm-hmm,
for the technology, right? It's a camera
mm-hmm,
that watches it. So yeah, like it's going to take a little bit of time, but I appreciate the NFL making the moves needed in order to continue
mm-hmm,
to add technology to the game. I think you should embrace technology. I don't think technology should replace, every part of the human part of the game, but
mm-hmm.
this is something that has been done by technology in other sports. So just let it happen in this sport.
Yep. Make it easier.
That is all that I have for today's show. Did you have anything that you would like to talk about, Caleb?
Nope. We pretty much covered everything.
All right, quick show tonight. Um, Make sure you watch the Royals game. They won 7-3 against
Yay.
Detroit today. Hey, don't know. That's a
I
real
said
yay.
yay.
All right, we need an
Yay.
enthusiastic yay. They are in a playoff spot. They are currently tied for the second wild card spot. If the Twins lose tonight, they have the second wild card spot.
Okay.
Okay, the Royals are good. Watch the Royals. Pay attention to the Royals. Okay, and don't give me this crap that I can't watch them. You can listen to them free on the radio. All right, pay attention to the Royals. They're a good baseball team. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.